Hello, in this tutorial we're going to give you an overview of the administrative side of SchedulesPlus. In our example here you can see that I have signed in and my account is called the Riverview Center. What I'm presented with after I've signed in is my home page. And the home page is a list of the various schedules where I have created events or activities. In this case here you can see that there are 5 public schedules and there is 1 private schedule. A public schedule is one that is accessible for check-in, where individuals who are arriving at your center for the day will be able to check in for those activities. And from home, if someone is going to take a look at your calendar, they'd be able to see those activities from home. A private schedule, on the other hand, is private, meaning that they are not items that people arriving at your center check in for, and those particular schedules are not visible for general users from home. When you take a look at your home page, what you're seeing there is not only the names of these schedules, but you'll see these are links. Because SchedulesPlus is run on the internet, you can link on these various areas to move about and navigate within the product. When you take a look at the tabs, we've got a couple of rows of tabs here. And as you click on various tabs, the view changes. This is how SchedulesPlus works. You navigate throughout the system by clicking on these various tabs or hot links. Let's take a look at People. In People, when I click on that, I'm presented with all of the names that end or begin with an A. In this case here, I've got Marge and Mary and a variety of others. If I click on any number of these alphabetized lists, the list changes. Certainly you can look for someone in that fashion, but I find it's actually easier to look for somebody by typing in part of their first name and part of their last name. I'm going to just look for myself by typing in part of my first name and part of my last name. And what it does is it comes back and it shows me everyone in the database that had those letters. You can see here I get some general information, phone number, membership, when that membership lapses, zip code, and so on. But I can actually open the record and see much more. I'm going to click on the first one, and now I'm presented with the information about this person in the database. SchedulesPlus is really a contact management database. When you think about what you can do with this product, you're doing a variety of tasks around people, and you'd like to be able to see their history. So not only can you see base information about a person, their mailing name, their default salutation, various addresses, and so on. But you can also see their event history, and I can filter that very quickly to see all records in the system. I can see that individual's volunteering history, and this reflects the hours they volunteered, but also perhaps they've signed up to help you out, and so they're a helper or they're on your volunteering roster to help you out at something. I can see that person's financial history, both payments that they've made, donations that they've made, household donations. The system also has a campaign management and pledge management option. I can see that person's receivables, so I can get a full history of all of the fees and payments that have been made and if they have a balance due, and a variety of other areas. I can see that individual's full history where it's merging all the things about a person together in a single page. I can see their rides history. So if this happens to be a person who has signed up for rides and is receiving rides from your organization, I can easily go to that person's record and see their rides. I can collect any number of notes about a person, whether it's notes from this year, notes from prior years. And this can be very handy for you to keep various notes with respect to an individual that you're working with. From a contacts point of view, I can have any number of contacts that can be added in the system. I can identify an individual's interests, and this is particularly useful if you're trying to match volunteers, for example, who have specific interests to events that are looking for volunteers in that way. So in this case here, I've identified that this particular person is interested in arts and fitness. And so in the future, when you're trying to do matching for arts or fitness related activities where you're looking for volunteers, Deb will show up as a person who's interested in those areas. I can also see visually the historical activities or rides or services or volunteering that Deb has had within my center. And sometimes this visual calendar is just a really nice way to look at things. And then finally, I can see an interaction history for this person. So as you can see, this is a very robust and full view of any individual or contact within your organization, where you can see a 360-degree view and history of their interactions over time. If I wanted to edit Deb's record, I can easily do so by clicking on the Edit button, and I can edit any number of pieces of information, all the basic information you would expect to see, and then I can add that person to groups. In addition to editing or viewing a specific person, you can actually filter your database of contacts and find groups of people. So if I'm looking for anyone that is identified in this entire database as a member, I can go to People Filter and easily filter the database in that regard and get that information. So People Filter is really handy for getting a view and filtering and querying your entire database of contacts in the system. I can also create scan cards quite easily. One of the features in the system is a check-in station. So you don't necessarily have to buy cards from another service. You can actually create cards on your own. And let's just add a person we want to create a card for. Let's create actually a couple of them so you can see that. And so I want to generate the cards, and that's what the cards would look like. And then I can print this on paper, cut them out, and laminate them. Let's take a quick look at creating an event. I'm going to go home, and again, your home tab is always going to take you back to where you originally signed in. And let's just say I want to create a new activity, and this is going to be a special event. So I'm going to put that in the special event schedule. So I simply click on special events and then add new event. And my new event is going to be called dance. And I'm going to create that for Friday the 15th, and that dance is going to go on from 5 p.m. until 8:30 p.m. I can add a description for that, and the description that you can type in, you can use any kind of Word special formatting if you'd like. So if I were to format that, I can do any number of things. I can change the format, I can change the font, I can change the colors, so I can really do quite a bit to dress up that description. If an event requires pre-registration, meaning people need to sign up in advance to go to it, you can identify that here by identifying it. In this case here, I am going to identify that this requires pre-registration. The online or at office is used if you are offering registrations from home. In this case here, I'm just going to say call office. The seat capacity is 10. You can also create events that have appointments. In this case here, this one's not going to have an appointment, but if it had an appointment, you could say that the appointment occurs every 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it happens to be. And then as people sign up and pre-register, you can actually assign specific appointment times for them. You can also control the start date for when people can start to register for this. In this case here, I'm going to let it default to what to any time. And then you can also identify the last day for registrations. Oftentimes you have trips and you need to actually close registrations before a certain date. There's a number of other pieces of information you can identify. I'm going to skip down to the fee area. So you can easily identify the fees to be completed. And so in this case here, the fee for all members is going to be $5 and the fee for non-members is going to be $10. I'm going to go ahead and save this new event. And the first thing you do when you create a new event is you need to reserve a room. So one of the features in the system is you can manage all of your room reservations and avoid conflicts in various rooms. I'm going to reserve the dining room for this. So now I've created an event and it's got a room reserved. At this point, I could start adding attendees to that. I can do so by clicking on the Attendees tab and easily adding an attendee. So let's just say Mark wants to sign up for that. I look for Mark. I register him, and it automatically knows what is the right fee for him. So it recognizes he's a bronze member, so the fee that it calculates for him is $5. So I can register him and log the payment and the payment type and save that, and now Mark is registered. I can continue to add more attendees simply by processing. In this case here, this attendee was not a member. So now I've got a couple of attendees. As you look at an attendees list, there's a number of things you can do with it. Obviously, you can take a look at who is joining that particular event, but you can export that list to Excel. You can email the list of attendees. And one of the things you'll see here is as you scroll over it, you get field help. You can print a class roster. You can create a letter. You can send the entire list, if they have email addresses in your system, a calendar invite that they can add to their own calendar. If you're using SchedulesPlus for rides, you can actually sign up people to receive a ride. So you may have an event where you're offering rides to and from the event. And then also one of the features is you can send a voice message to a list of attendees, perhaps reminding them of the upcoming activity. As you look at the list of attendees, you're also going to see the money that has been collected for that. So in this case here, we collected $5 and $10 when we added those attendees, and you can easily get a total of the monies collected as you look at that particular event. One of the other features in an event is you can actually create choices. So perhaps you have a trip and that trip is going to offer a lunch. You can actually create a choice called lunch and identify what the choices are: hot lunch, cold lunch, vegetarian, or none. You can limit how many are available, so maybe you only have 5 hot lunches available, but you have 10 cold lunches available, and maybe 5 vegetarian options. And then people, as they sign up as an attendee, are asked which of these choices they want. The system gathers that information, and then you can get a total of each of the choices. So now this event is completely set up. Let's actually go now back to our home, and let's create an event under Fitness, Health, and Wellness that is a repeating event. Let's just say we're going to add a new event, and that new event is going to be called Tai Chi. And that event is going to start next year, and it's going to start on Thursday the 4th, and it goes from 9 a.m. until 10:30 a.m. And it does require pre-registration, and there is a capacity. I'm not going to put any fees on it right now. I'm just going to go ahead and create this for purposes of our example. I'm going to save this. I'm going to actually add this to conference room 300 as a room. So now we've created a single date event for January 4th. This particular Tai Chi class, however, is a repeating class. So I want to create this as a repeating instance. So in order to do that, I click on the yellow Modify button. So the first thing you're going to always do when you're creating a repeating event is you have to create the first instance and put it in a room. Then you come back to the event and you click Modify. And this is where I can actually have this repeat. And I'm going to have this repeat every week until I'm going to go till the end of January, and I'm going to have it repeat on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I'm changing the type here. The type here for a repeating event helps to describe what that event is. So in this case here, a type 2 event, there's only 2 types for repeating events, a type 1 and a type 2. Type 2 says this is a class where a person signs up one time, they're going to get added to every instance, and they're entitled to go to that every instance of that class, and they pay a one-time fee. And that's usually what a class like Tai Chi would be like. Type 1 repeating instances are things more like lunch or coffee and conversation or cribbage, where you don't sign up in advance and you can come and go as you please. And your name, if you go to it, isn't going to be put onto every instance. If you're going to go, it's just the single instance. I'm going to make this a type 2, and I'm going to go ahead and save this. So now you can see it created all of those instances on the proper days, and it added the resource room where I needed it. So now if I go look at my calendar, I'm going to go to December. In December, I'm going to go to January. I now see Tai Chi on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It started on Thursday, the 4th. It did not start on the 2nd. And you can see here there's an M next to it, which means that was the master. When you create repeating events in SchedulesPlus, the very first instance is called the master. and all the others are called repeating instances. As you need to make changes to those, you would want to work in the master. And let's just do that as an example. I'm going to say that I need to modify this, and perhaps I had the wrong end date. I really needed an end date of the 23rd. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm in the master, and I'm going to save that. And you can see that change. There's a lot of helpful information on the info site called schedulesplus.com/info on repeating events. And I really do encourage you to come out to that site and just look for the articles. So there are many, many articles on how you can actually do many of the functions within the system. All right. Now we've taken a look at events, both a single date event and a repeating event. Let's go home again. We've taken a look at people and some of the things there. Let's take a look at groups. Groups are simply collections of people, and it's a way to communicate with people. Oftentimes you'd think of a newsletter group. So you can see here we've created a newsletter group for people that want to receive our newsletter via mail. And right now there's just 2 people in that group. I can easily add people to that group by editing their own person record. So let me show you how to do that. Let's go to Mary Adam Wright and let's edit her record. And let's take a look at the group she's in. She's already in that particular group, but let's just say she's also in the Bicyclist Club, so I can easily add her to groups. I can also add people to groups simply by going to this Primary Groups tab and adding people by clicking on the number in the group and adding new. And I can add any number of people to that group in that fashion. And then you see the number of the group changes. I can also use the Groups tab to do a variety of things. I can click on any number of these and email large groups of people right within the product. I can attach files, create a subject, and then go ahead and put the text of my email and send that email. I can export those lists, and I can send form letters. So this system also has a template option where you can actually create a template and send form letters out to people. The Resources tab is all about the room reservations or furniture reservations or equipment reservations. You can reserve any number of things for the activities and the events that you've created. So when you go to the Resources tab, you're looking at the account level, and I can easily see for this day, these are the rooms that were reserved and what they're reserved for. I can look at the room reservations in calendar format, and I can also print reservations, and I can print them just as a list, or I can print them, for example, as a door calendar. I can do free time searches to easily find rooms that are available. So when I do a free time search here, in this case here, you can easily see that the art room is available at 8 a.m., but between the hours of 8:30 and 10, it's already reserved for something else. I can also see if there's any rooms in a period of time that don't have a resource assigned, and then I can take care of that. The Calendar tab in the administration side is all about the events that you've defined. So the default view is events, but here I can see any calendar that is something created in the system. The resource calendar, the dining calendar, the volunteering calendar, the rides calendar, and so on. I can control how this calendar looks as well. So I've opted to show no weekends in my calendar, but let's say that I actually do now want to show all the days. I can actually save these filters, and then when I come back to this calendar, it remembers the filters that I've chosen as my default and will always use that. So if I move off that calendar now and I come back, it now shows that. So these filters, you can customize these to your particular interests, and then another admin may have a whole different set of filters that they choose. The Financials tab is all about the financials for your account. So I can see the full payments by day, by month, and so on. I can see donations, I can see pledges, I can work with campaigns, any credit card payments, and so on. I can also create thank you letters as well. So if I wanted to take a look at all the donations for a year that have been made, and perhaps I want to send a donation thank you letter, maybe it's even a year-end receipt template that I've created, I can easily do that by selecting the donation and it will create that. I can email this directly to the person or I could print it. There's a lot of reporting that is already built into each one of these tabs as I've been clicking on them, but there's also a lot of pre-canned reports that have already been developed. And you can see there's a number of reports, attendance, volunteering, membership, and so on that have been created. And virtually the combination of what you can see here is limitless because of all the filters that you can apply. I'm going to just go for the to be unduplicated attendance totals by person for, let's look at this year. And by selecting this year, it changed my range. I'm going to run that report. And you can now see that report. These are also exportable, so if I clicked export, it would export it to Excel. And once I've run a report, if I like that report and I'm going to use it regularly, perhaps for future board meetings, I can save that report and then it shows up in my list of saved reports and I can easily pull up that particular report with the filters I had saved. The POS tab is a point of sale, and it really makes things easy for your front desk in terms of registering somebody for multiple things at once. So let's just say an individual has come to the front desk and Deb wants to register for many things in a single transaction and write one check. So I can easily sign Deb up for multiple things. Let's just say she wants to go to the foot care clinic, she's going to go to Tai Chi, and we have the dance party. So we can subtotal that, and it gives us a nice subtotal where I can actually identify that amount that she's paying and how she's going to pay for it, and then I can process that. After processing it, it signed her up for all of those areas, and then I can print a receipt and hand it to her. So that's a real quick look. There's a number of other features in the product that we'll discuss in other tutorials, but that's a real quick look at the primary areas of the system.